Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Baka podcast.
Baka. It's amazing how every time you open your mouth, you prove you're an idiot.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Baka. We are an anime podcast. Every 2 weeks, we watch an anime. Then we come together on this podcast and we talk about it in a discussion like we're a book club, but we're watching TV animes. Anyway, then we turn the discussion over to you to complete the thoughts that we start, if that makes sense. Today, we are discussing the anime Deca Dence. And to talk about it, I need the help of my co-host. First off, we have the hunger to my games, Jeremy. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I never actually said it that fast before and realized that it spells out decadence. Like,
okay,
that's really cool, actually.
Yep.
Yeah. Huh. That's interesting.
Huh.
Okay.
But yeah, to be fair, it is Deca-Dence.
Yeah. Yeah. It never clicked. But it fits.
It dence or dance?
Dence.
Yeah, it's Deca Dence.
So, sounds like
oh,
dense.
okay. De. Okay.
Yeah. But I'm doing good. I actually have a movie to report this time. I watched a movie with my wife the other night. It's not the one you're thinking of, Troy. This one is Boss Level. Have you guys heard of Boss Level? No? Okay, it's Frank Grillo is the lead actor in it, and Mel Gibson is a villain in it. And it actually is really cool. Basically, we were kind of throwing around parallels to like ReZero in some of its moments of, resurrection kind of thing, return by death. And that's kind of the whole concept of this. You see it in the trailer. You can learn it really quick, so it's not a spoiler. But this guy, he's a special ops agent, retired, and he's waking up in the morning to a guy with a machete trying to kill him. And the rest of the day is just taking on more of these assassins that are trying to kill him. And he's gone through it like 140 something times by the time that you get introduced to him at the beginning of the show. And you kind of get to go with him through the process of, from that point on, solving what the situation is, why this is happening to him, how to fix it. And he's a likable character, and it's really entertaining. It's really fun to watch. Yeah, it was a good show. Very highly recommend it. As like a popcorn, relax and enjoy a good show. Don't expect anything particularly deep, but enjoy the action pace. Yeah, it's good.
Unlike Deep Blue Sea. Anyway, thank you for that, Jeremy. Our other host is the Maze to My Runner, Jason. How you doing?
Really? I couldn't be like the Florida or 13th or something?
No, these are young adult post-apocalyptic stories.
Terrible stories, you mean? No, anyways.
Just that one.
Says the old adult.
I'm so tired of those movies. Anyways, doing pretty good. If basically every year, once the turkey is done, we clean the carcass and we've cleaned up the house. It's time to pull out the Christmas tree. And so for the past week, my life has been filled with Christmas.
Wow.
But
that sounds great.
Oh yeah, it's been something. Lots of light hanging. Anyways, I was proud of Troy because this is 2 years in a row that you've put lights up.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. No projector for you.
First one on the block too. I was like, suck it 2020. I'm gonna have a good Christmas.
There you go.
Nice. But I obviously can't spoil anything, but watching this last episode of The Mandalorian, I could hear Star Wars nerds around the globe all cheering in just absolute harmony for this episode. It was a sight to be seen, and also like a dream come true for some lore nerds. So yeah. But yeah, super good. But also my kid pointed out to me that normally when we play a Minecraft mod, I know Troy's gonna love this, we probably complete the pack in around 2 to 3 weeks. I've been playing this one pack since July.
Whoa.
Yeah. And I just got my space station up and running, and finally got fuel done. So I'm entering the end game. I'm pretty happy with myself.
Nice.
We're already running late, but did you want to talk about like 10 more things?
Well, Path of Exile's new mayhem.
Oh, jeez Louise.
You did that.
Anyway, and my name is Troy. I actually watched what's Netflix calls the second season. It's the last 9 episodes of The Great Pretender anime that we talked about 2 episodes ago. We watched those first 14 episodes, and then the final arc is a 9-episode arc. I was telling you guys, I don't think it'll change any minds, but it was absolutely fantastic. It added weight to the first half. No spoilers, but it digs into Laurent's past. It digs back into Makoto as characters. It really fleshes out everything we saw in that first half and gives everything meaning. And then everything from those kind of carries over. It was a great payoff to those who have been watching it. I was shilling for our Great Pretender YouTube episode because people were clicking on ReZero like crazy, and I think they have one on Great Pretender, and I'm like, click it. I don't care about the views. No, it's not views. The anime deserves to be clicked on. Please click it. I just want people to care about that anime. But yeah, it was very good. But let's talk about the anime that we're actually here to talk about, which is Deca Dence. And we'll start with our non-spoiler reviews. Jeremy picked it, so he'll go first.
I really enjoyed it. It really goes places you don't expect. Takes twists that I didn't even see coming, but I really liked them in the end, and it definitely fit the genre that I was looking for. I thought the characters were pretty entertaining too. Yeah. Overall, I would recommend that you check it out, and if possible, if it seems like something you're interested in, I mean, think of it as like it comes in kind of smelling like an Attack on Titan clone, which I know I don't want to steal that from you, Troy, but I'm gonna steal it from you, Troy, because it's so accurate. It comes in kind of looking like that, but don't be fooled. It does some other interesting things, and it kind of comes out of left field. If you listen to this when we spoil it, it's gonna lose like 90% of its value. So if it does seem like something you're interested in watching, I recommend you watch it before you listen to the spoiler section.
All right. Jason, what'd you think?
It was surprisingly good. I have to be a little honest here. Normally when Troy picks animes I haven't heard of, I think, oh, it's probably going to be silly. Or if Jeremy picks anime that I have never heard of, it's usually going to be weird. And I'll be happy to know that not only did this have a twinge of weird, but it was really cool. Yeah, no, so the characters were fairly believable in this particular setting. And also some of the payoffs later on are well earned. So it was fun to watch, and some of the twists were unexpected and pleasantly so.
I found this anime to be very entertaining. I have no idea how Jason hasn't heard of it. It was one of the more popular anime of the season. Mother's Basement, I know, had made a video on it. That I know we don't watch things until after we've discussed them ourselves, but okay. And I picked silly. Anyway, back on track.
Dude, everything you pick is silly.
Silly or like dripping with emotion.
That one sounds like me. I'll accept that all day long. Okay. Anyway, Deca Dence is very entertaining. It definitely does seem a little predictable, and it isn't. Also, this anime has huge cojones. I felt like I watched 2 or 3 seasons with the pace they were willing to go through their story and how many reveals and big moments they had in their story, where other animes would drag out like what's in the first 5 episodes of this into a whole season. Mm-hmm. This anime does it in 5 episodes, and then does it again over the next 5 episodes, and then does it again for the ending. And I was like, okay, this is all big swings in storytelling, and I was excited about it. And like I said, it was very entertaining to watch. I have small nitpicks about the characters feel a little simple to me. Not bad, but just simple. And the themes are kind of retreaded by the end. By the end, I realized what all of the story had been told. I'm like, oh, this is a movie from the '90s. And half the art style drove me insane.
Oh yeah,
He's talking about Independence Day. No.
yeah, that's the movie.
It's just Will Smith all over again. Not
Yep.
up at me. All right,
Welcome
so,
to Earth.
but
Boom.
those are very personal nitpicks. I think this was a very fun and entertaining anime to watch, and I do recommend it to other people. All right, opening and closing, theme songs and openings. Your guys' thoughts.
Smooth.
Done this one too many times.
I really enjoyed the opening. I thought the visuals and the music was really good. I watched it nearly every time. The ending was serene, and I like the visuals there as well. It was, yeah, they were nice.
I really liked how the opening had so many things that I was just confused about at first, and as I learned more about the story, things just kind of started to make sense, and I started picking out like different characters and stuff that I didn't even realize were characters. I couldn't tell what they were, but yeah, I really enjoyed the opening. The outro was just, I don't know, it was okay. Nothing special there for me.
I neither one really grabbed me. I couldn't pick the songs out of a lineup if I had to right now when I finished watching it this morning. I did like the visuals of the intro. The outro was also there. They weren't bad. They weren't like I want to skip these at all, but I also wasn't like pumped to watch them.
I do have to, yeah, not on the playlist. I do have to admit that the sound design, just overall, as far as the music goes, it felt a little bit lacking. The music, when they got into combat scenes, it just didn't really have the right hype to it that I would expect from a lot of the other anime that I've seen, where it really gets you going. You can feel it chiming in when the characters are reaching their crescendo for their attacks and for the meaningful events. It just seemed too quiet, and it seemed too gentle. That's the combat music was really bugging me in this. So I don't know about sound design on this one.
Okay. So now we're going to go on to the spoiler section to talk about it. And like Jeremy mentioned, this has major twists that really help with the quality and the enjoyment of this anime. So if you're the kind of people who would like to listen to us and talk about the spoilers, this is probably not the anime to do that for. And it's not a twist from the end of the anime either. It's like episode 2. Here's a major twist. So it'll be coming out early. You do not want to hang around if you want to watch this and enjoy it like normal audience members got to. Yeah. With that said, spoiler section dropped. We're moving on. All right. So our anime starts with on a post-apocalyptic Earth. And humans live in this giant, think like Mortal Engines, right? It's a moving city, but it kind of looks like a head with 2 hands on top of it. But it's all like banged up and metal and not even. And it's called Deca Dence. That term's going to get used a lot. It's the name of the anime. It's the name of the city. It's the name of something else we'll talk about after episode 2. That name comes through a lot. But people live in this city. There's monsters that are in the world, and they go around the city fighting the monsters. They use the blood for fuel and the meat for food, but they're also always on the run because of the monsters. We start with a man searching through wreckage of like an old city, and he finds like this little robot thing. And he's like, oh, this is crazy. And then his daughter comes up, and she's holding a scorpion. And he's like, whoa, that's crazy. You shouldn't be having that. And then the monsters attack, and they end up like running away, trying to get back to the city. and their car gets hit, and they're in a wreck, and then we find out that the little girl, she loses her arm and she's in the back of an ambulance, and the dad's like, all right, I'm sending you back to the city, I'm going to stay here and help fight. And she's been sent back to the city, and that's where this flashback ends for the prologue. And that little girl is our main character, Natsume, who is a girl with a robot arm, and she is part of the tanker population in Deca Dence, which are normal humans who are in charge of maintenance and repair and food and all that. Meanwhile, another race lives in the upper part of Deca Dence, and they're in charge of the fighting and the hunting of the Gadol, the monsters that live out in the world. And they usually have like weirdly colored skin. And so our main character is Natsume, who wants to be a fighter. Some humans are allowed to fight with the gears, but she can't. She's just a normal tanker with a robot arm. What did you guys think of our main character?
I actually really enjoyed her character growth. I thought she was fairly stereotypical when it comes to an anime female protagonist, but she's got I don't know. I saw a little bit of a parallel between her and Deku. I mean, the whole I'm weak and I want to get stronger, and my determination is my defining quality. And that determination is what's going to drive me to my next limit. And she earns each skill that she gets, and that's the cool thing about this anime, is that, you know, she is still just human. It's just how good is she with her equipment? How smart is she in her decision making? Because her fighting ability gets better through skill rather than raw power and strength, like in other anime. So that was neat to see, but also her personal and emotional growth was really well paced, honestly. As far as personality, like I said, fairly stereotypical. But yeah, she was a decent main character.
Yeah. I liked her. I thought there were interesting moments where she actually got to realize that there were, I don't know if I'd call them casualties among her friends due to her, like what you were pointing out, her determination, her desire to grow as a person. She wants to change herself. That becomes a big central theme for her as an individual. And, you know, other people don't always want to do that, and they don't always want to get caught up with you, but they still want to be with you. They want to be your friend. They want to hang out with you. And so that was really cool to actually see that kind of interaction. There's one particular scene that I was really impressed with, the way that they wrote it and the way that they handled it. It was, I want to say melodramatic, but that kind of seems a little negative. It was the right amount of dramatic. and so I really enjoyed, like you were saying, Jason, how she progressed because of her determination. She stayed on that path of character growth. I wouldn't say that she necessarily had an arc, but because she never changed her mind about anything. She set out knowing what she wanted to be, and she just continued to work, marching along toward that. And by the end of the anime, she pretty much got there. And she's pretty cool.
Yeah, not your annoying I want to be a hero character. Like, she's very believable in her reasoning. And I really liked how she started off with like, I want to change the world, and then grew to realize what I wanted to change was me. I didn't want to be worthless in this world. She does want to make the world a better place, but also that's not really her goal that she realizes. It's a more self-serving goal. That was cool. Otherwise, she's kind of one note. That's kind of her thing. Is I want to grow and I want to help, and that's what I'm going to do. Her determination, though, does have a ripple effect through the whole storyline. So it's important that she does have that. So it's important. But so good character, but not great character. Which is good.
Nitpick.
No, I'm on the same page. I didn't think she was a defining character of 2020, but I thought she was a good character for this story.
So yeah, we catch up with her like when she's basically graduating school, and she had applied to be a soldier in what's called the Power, the power is where the human are the group that of humans that get to fight with the gears, right? Or is the power
Yes.
everybody that fights?
The power is just the 200.
Just the okay, right? So she wants to join this group called the Power. She's put in an application. There's no response back, and they're like, yeah, just don't. You have one arm. Like you're not you're gonna be a soldier. Stop it. And so she gets assigned, and there's like she has a best friend and a bully in the story. The bully, I think, is in the background of like 3 shots.
Yeah.
There's
Don't
no
forget her.
there's no resolution there. And the friend only has like 2 or 3 scenes. Basically, she has a friend who's like, I wish you would just want to be normal and everything stay the same like I do.
Yeah, that's the one.
And that's about it. So I'm not going to really bring up those characters, but she does get a job, which is armor repair, which is the people who fix the outside of Deca Dence and fix the walls as they get damaged. Except for she's told, yeah, no, you have to work for 5 years before you're allowed to do that. You get to scrub poop off and guts off the edge of Deca Dence. And we meet her boss for this job, whose name is Kaburagi. And he's a very gruff man, and we're going to find out this is actually our main character.
Yeah.
It's not Natsume. They do kind of share the top role, but yeah, he's the real main character, the one who has an arc to go through. So, Jeremy, your thoughts on Kaburagi?
I really like this character, and the main reason I like him so much is because he comes across as the old grouchy, quiet mentor that is going to teach the protagonist something and then disappear from the limelight so that the protagonist can move on to the next lesson from the next teacher. And that is not at all what happens with this guy. You find out that he is not he's not the character you think he is in any way. And even once you start to get to know him, there's still things about him that are kept secret. And it's really cool just kind of watching those things unfold bit by bit. And seeing how much he's changed by, well, especially Natsume. Like she's the catalyst in his character growth. And just watching his interactions with everybody, seeing I loved the dichotomy of his personality and his attitude compared to what he looks like in his real body. And I'll just stop there.
Do you think people who know the twist are just like eye rolling so hard every time you hear?
I know. They're just like, say it, just say it already.
Yeah. Oh my God, he's being so coy.
Yeah.
All right, Jason, what do you think of him?
I actually, I really enjoyed his arc. He is pretty stereotypical as far as like a male gruff protagonist in an anime, but I think what I really liked is this idea that he was just kind of waiting for it all to end, and he found a reason to live. And like I said, a lot of the story beats in this anime that are told are really well earned, and this is one of them. And I really like the resolution that we get. I was a little unhappy with the ending, but we'll get there.
I'm really curious about why, so I'm looking forward to that.
I'm more in Jeremy's ballpark on this one. I do think he was a great character and probably one of the most entertaining parts of this anime. His growth, his whole thing, and I really like how they set up. He develops this friendship relationship with Natsume. It's not really like a father-daughter. It's not really also friends, but there's no romantic thing. It's a very weird. It's very hard to classify relationship, but he develops this bond with her. But it's also not just like, oh, I randomly did this. We see that there's been inklings of this with his choice in pet, and other past mistakes he's made. He's kind of wanted this, or it's been in his mind for a while, and he just needed someone to give him that push, to give him that motivation, and Natsume provides that, like you said, a catalyst to undergo a change he's been needing to make for a while. It wasn't just a random change. And I think, like Jason said it best, well earned. This is a character whose growth and stuff is well earned. They did a very good job of telling his story. So I'm a big fan of Kaburagi, who I will be calling Kabu for the rest of this because that was easier to write in the notes. And one character called him that once, and I was like, "That's your name now, Kabu."
I think one thing you mentioned with this, and also a little while back, about the amount of storytelling that's told in such a short amount of episodes. This anime does a really outstanding job with visual storytelling. There's so much lore and extra information that's presented just through the environment, and I think it's well shot. I'll have to say that. Like, the camera work's fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, I absolutely agree. I was actually, when I first sat down to start watching it, I watched the first episode and I was a little bit like bored. It seemed a little stale to me. And I thought, all right, I'll give the second one a go. You know, I can do 2 episodes tonight. Then I finished episode 9. Oops. Because I realized I had to go to sleep because I got to get up for work the next day. So yeah, and even though it's so fast paced, it does such a good job of just pulling you in.
Right. So earlier when I had complained, like, or nitpicked, I don't want to say complaint because I don't really have a complaint about this anime. When I nitpick that the characters are kind of simple, that's the sacrifice I think they made to let the storytelling go so fast. Mm-hmm. And they don't do it in a bad way. They're not bad characters. And like I said, they have the cojones to be like, we're gonna do like 3, what most anime do in 3 seasons. This character's gonna arc super fast, and so we got to keep them super simple. I'm okay with that. You did it in a good, good storytelling way. If you're looking for like a really deep characters, this isn't the anime for you. But again, very interesting way to tell a story. Very interesting concepts. I was happy. Yeah, so we see kind of a work montage with her, which is basically always hanging off the side of this thing, cleaning poop. And Kaburagi is just kind of this, leave me alone. I'm just an old gruff dude who just wants to do his job and go home.
I don't like milk.
I don't like milk. And one day he forgets his flask, and so she uses an excuse to go to his home, and she's like, "Oh, also, you should we should have a party because I'm your new employee." Which is her way. It felt a little weird. It almost would have. Mm-hmm. It almost felt like she was trying to make romantic advances sometimes. And I was like, if you were a little older, this would feel completely different. But you're also really young, so I think you just want attention, mm-hmm. or a mentor really bad. But yeah, she comes to his place and basically forces her complaints upon him. I want to be a soldier. I wanted to join the power. He's like, that's stupid. That's not how the world works. And also, you shouldn't do that. And then we find out that he has a little pet who is one of the monsters that he keeps in his house. And she's kind of freaked out by it, but it's fine. Yeah. And this is what I mean. Like, there's inklings that he's different.
He's got compassion and sympathy. Right. And yeah, this thing, it cracked me up so bad every time it was on screen. It's basically a pug. And
yeah, it is.
And oh my God, they do stuff with this that you just don't see in anime a lot. I mean, it poops on screen. It's just
as a butthole.
Yes, it's just, I don't know. Like you were saying with the kahunas, they do things that you don't expect. And I don't know, as silly as that might sound, I find it refreshing because it treads outside of the expected path. That's just really nice.
It likes to grab pipes, so she names it Pipe.
Yeah.
Afterwards, we see a human walking through the inner city of Deca Dence, and he just like keels over and dies. And then Kaburagi comes and does a retrieval by pulling something out of his neck. And then he reports, or someone calls him, and
we see like looking through Kaburagi's eyes, and there's like this circle of multicolored lines and little text that we can't understand, and just all kinds of stuff. It looks like some kind of weird HUD that he's seeing through.
So the next day or days later, a Godal attack happens outside while they're out cleaning, and one of the repairman's seats breaks, and then he tries to grab onto another guy and end up falling, and they knock off both Kabu and Natsume, and they all fall down. Well, one thing about these Gadol is when they feel threatened, they create anti-gravity fields around them to both protect themselves. And so the gears and the powers, they have these tanks that they wear like backpacks that are filled with Gadol blood and suck up Gadol blood like a vacuum at all times. And as long as you have blood in it, you can float in these anti-gravity fields and like surf through them with this backpack. Basically, it lets you fly around like Attack on Titan, which is why when you're watching like the trailer for this, you're like, oh, Attack on Titan clone. You know, it's a different reason they can have crazy movement through the air, but this is theirs. I don't really know what the science of it works. It does look cool in some scenes.
They call it Oxy 1 or Oxy Own?
Oxyone.
Yes, either one of those.
Well, I think what was interesting about the way they dispatch these things is, you know, Attack on Titan is, you know, we slice it up or we have to shoot it or whatever. This is like, no, we have to drain them dry.
Yeah,
we have these huge pipes
needles.
that they use as hypodermic needles, and that's their main form of attack. I thought that was pretty cool, but dumb at the same time. Like, it was like, okay, there's gotta be better ways to drain. Like, you cut off the head, and, you know, but this is their way.
You want to make the blood go into the air so that your backpack can suck it up and you can keep flying. It's this constant. The more you fly, the more fuel you use, and the more you kill, the more fuel you get. So you have to fly, kill, and get fuel.
It's almost like a game. It's so balanced.
It's almost like a really cool game loop. But we, speaking of one of those really cool scenes, so when they hit the field, and so they don't crash into the ground, they're floating, and Kabu grabs a dead guy's gear, and attaches Natsume to him with a belt, and then just start flying through, killing left and right, way better than any other fighter out there, until this giant one shows up, and the city does its transformation, which is to create a giant fist in front of a rocket and one punch this giant Godzilla-looking monster in the face and kill it.
It's basically a kaiju, but I think what's ingenious about the way this anime does it is I was expecting a big cannon or maybe a huge spear. No, they literally make the Deca Dence form two fists together and then rocket punch a kaiju with enormous fists. I thought that was ingenious.
Yep.
And then the first episode ends with these little cartoon chibi looking people watching all this on a video and being like, that was cool. And then they just like go about their day walking through these little cartoon villages.
I was so confused. Like, what? Okay.
And so yeah, and the next episode starts and we see the dead are buried, but that's when this is in the second episode is when we get the big reveal. And you make sure I get this right, guys. So in the future, humans destroy the Earth basically, and the corporations are like, hey, we'll turn you all into cyborgs so you can live, and we'll all just go into space. And they go into space, and then this corporation's like, okay, for the rest of humanity down there, we're gonna buy the rights to their lives, and then we're gonna create this zone, and the humans will live in this city, and we'll make monsters, and then you can go down in human-like avatars where you can fight. Earth has become an MMO for what has become the cyborg race. The human race has turned into a cyborg race, and the actual humans that are left over are just the NPCs of it.
Yep.
But it's not simulated, it's real.
It's like reality TV meets isekai.
Yes.
Yep.
But it's happening directly below their feet. Like they're hovering above the action in a giant ship.
Yep.
So I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. I definitely have some comments about some things, but I want to get your thoughts on the big twist and any other thoughts that now that we have this all out in the open on your thoughts.
Oh, I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, this hit everything that I like about having AI that you're dealing with, because even though they're cyborgs and they are people, they're also, some of them behave a bit more robotic than others. And it was interesting to see how much freedom versus how much restriction they have in their personalities, in their society, where this game plays into things for them. The history was interesting to me. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a really great twist.
Yeah, the I did not see this coming after watching this city punch a kaiju, and then now we've got like little cyborgs that come down in avatar form. Totally didn't see that coming, and like there's so many implications that end up getting shoved at you all at once. Like we've got a race of cyborgs that treat people like cattle,
Yep.
and or like NPCs, and we've got real human suffering, and these guys just treat it like a video game. You know, that could be pretty messed up. And then we, you know, what we learn later about what we'll call bugs. We'll learn more about those. Yeah, it was. I thought it was a really cool twist. And this is another one of those shows, and this is the reason I love anime in general. This is one of those shows I don't think could be told in any other video media. Like you could do this in a light novel or a manga, but like if you try to do this live action or Americanized 3D CGI, I don't know if you could pull it off.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely loved the twist. I was running around grabbing everyone who would even listen to me, telling them what the twist was, and
They
like,
didn't care.
"Yeah, Dad, I'm not watching that right now. Why would you tell me that? Dad, I'm trying to do my homework. What are you doing?" Meow, meow, meow. Anyone I could tell. Here's my nitpick. I absolutely hate the art style of the cyborgs. I can not stand. It is both a valid choice. It totally makes sense thematically what they're doing. It's very cool that the real stuff looks cartoony and fake, whereas the real humans that are just in a simulated world are what look realistic. That's very cool. And also, as much as I'd like to believe if I became a cyborg, I'd look like 2077 Cyberpunk 2077 that's about to come out. Looking at my Apple phone, we'd probably look more like cartoon characters because that's how you get suburban housewives to sign up to become a cyborg, right? That totally makes sense. Like, oh no, look like a character from Candy Crush. That's way more appealing to the average person.
Yep.
So I can totally, it's totally plausible. I just hate it. I hated the cartoon style. Every time we were at the cyborgs, I'm like, this is really good storytelling, and I'm having a really hard time taking it seriously because you look like a lizard man, and you have a light bulb wire on the top of your head that heats up. Okay.
Okay, later on when we get to the quote unquote prison section. That my first thought when I saw a lot of those a lot of those cyborgs was the old Sonic the Hedgehog show.
Yes.
I was that is a near copy of what Eggman's robots would have looked like. I was like, what is going on? Like, what is this?
Little capsule people. Yep.
It felt like two different animation studios made this, and maybe they did. Maybe they were like, "Hey, you want to come in and make this other part?" Because there's just no connecting tissue between the character designs of the cyborgs and the humans. Again, unlike like No Gun's Life. It totally makes sense. And
it makes it worse when you finally get a human that comes comparable to them, and like they're huge because like with them just by themselves with nothing to judge it by, they look small. They look like child size, and then a character walks up to them that's human. And it's like, nope, they're human height.
They're like
some are
average 4 feet tall, probably the averages, but some
4
are
to 6.
Some are bigger. Yeah, some go to 6. Some are short.
Some are 2.
Yeah.
Some are knee high. Yeah.
Mostly I could stomach it because I thought, oh, this is like a computer world, and these are their computer program selves. And then we find out they're in the real world when we get to the prison stuff, and they're interacting with real world stuff, and I'm like, oh no, that's like his literal body. That's his physical form. That's so dumb looking.
Okay, for me, it harkened back to Reboot, that 3D cartoon that came on in the 90s, and I loved it. I loved it for that reason. It hit all of the nostalgia tones just right for me, and I actually thought that I totally agree with you that it's so different that it clashes artistically between the two styles. But I kind of liked it. I don't know why I liked it, but I kind of liked it. I thought it added something to it for me. It added another degree of separation between their worlds.
I can't complain about it. This is something. This is not like No Guns Life where I'm like, I feel like you made a mistake. This is 100% personal. I get why you made the choice. It's the choice makes sense thematically. I get it. I just don't like it.
That's fair.
Looking at it, I'm like, oh, yeah. All right.
Yep.
I don't know. Minato, like he looks pretty cool. I like his design.
He was one of the better ones, yeah. And I like Donatello's.
Yeah, Donatello's was good.
Sark was awesome.
Dude, he's so snaky. Anyways, let's move on.
Sark was the worst. All right. Yeah, so we get to see Kabu in the digital world, and then we get a flashback to 7 years ago. Basically, he was one of the top players in the game, or was I had a hard time telling if he was number one but he was at least close to the top.
5.
Where he was number 5. Who is Donatello number 1?
I didn't catch the other names, but I just kept seeing during the time that they were showing Mike catching up to him, he was always at the number 5 marker.
Okay, so yeah, and he ran with the top players. They would go out together, and there was a guy named Mike, and one of the guys was like, yeah, you can remove your limiter and you can actually like feel the pain, but it makes you so much better in combat. And Mike's like, oh, really? And so he goes to Kaburagi and he's like, hey, tell me how to do that. And he's like, that's not something I'm going to tell you how to do. That's illegal. You're not allowed to do that. He's like, I want to push myself to my limits. So Kabu tells him. And he does really well. And he gets caught cheating. And he gets punished for it. He gets killed for it. Mm-hmm. Everybody else gets sent to prison, except for Kaburagi, who gets sentenced to serving as a pretend human tanker in Deca Dence who has to remove bugs from the system. Basically, if enemy humans are not supposed to be there or become suspicious of what's really going on, they're murdered, and then they have their chips removed. All humans have a tracking chip in them. And that's what he was doing with that one dead guy.
Now,
I believe he's also supposed to collect gears.
Yes, them too. Any bugs that he finds.
Yeah.
So, but Kaburagi doesn't necessarily know why the system may label someone bug. It's just that they get labeled a bug, they fall over dead, and he recovers, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
It was a little weird because on one hand, like, I want to push myself to the limits is like, oh, I get that. But also you want to cheat at a video game. And as a guy who plays a lot of video games, I have a hard time being on the same page with you.
Well, I wonder though, let's flip it into like virtual reality for a moment, and let's take it out of the realm of like you're limited to your controller, and so you know that if you're going to be cheating, you're accessing controls other people don't have. But let's say your own reflexes and your own movement were your controls completely, and it was mimicking everything, like hooking up to your brain. But there's this governor that's in the way between your brain and between the avatar, and you're like, I can do better than this. I can move better than this. It's almost like you're just saying, get your hand off of my controller, get rid of this. That doesn't seem like cheating to me. I can kind of see where he's coming from, where he's like, I have this potential. Get the governor out of my way. Get the thing blocking me out of my way.
It kind of almost felt like, because it was that competitive spirit to be in the top of the rankers, right? Because I think how you performed in the video game was a direct correlation to how much money you got, right?
Oh yeah, luxurious living for the rankers.
Yeah. So, but I think it was more comparable to, bodybuilders that use steroids, or they're thinking about taking steroids, and they're like, I don't want to cheat, but I need to get bigger.
I guess I could see that. That's fair. Yeah.
That's probably closer because it's really both, right? Because he's both cheating at a video game and he just wants to be the best at his regular life that he can be through something that's not authorized.
Right.
So it really is kind of both of them at the same time. But my problem is with only looking at it from your point of view, Jeremy, is that if everyone has to follow that rule and has that same limiter, then you wanting to remove it means that you've now cheated everybody else. I don't care if you have used cheat codes in a video game. I care if you use cheat codes in a multiplayer game. But anyway.
I guess it comes down to not wanting to abide by the rules because you think the rules are hemming you in. Not that you don't want everybody else to do it. You'd be fine if everybody else did it too. Because I know they have, like, in some games they have entire servers where if somebody's cheating, they'll just funnel them onto the cheater server and let them play against each other, and they usually don't like it. But I think Mike would have been totally fine with that.
That's fair, and Natsume is wanting the same thing, but she's not playing a video game, so then it's it was just a weird thing because it is a game to them. But anyway, again, a little nitpick.
Yeah. Woof, woof, woof.
Now, are they actually killed or are they recycled?
Mike is killed.
Oh, yeah. They take his core out. And
well, that's what I was saying, because they said something about they recover the core and then they do something with it.
I bet you they reprogram it. So that
they put it into a new cyborg?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Natsume comes to the human. So there's going to be human Kaburagi and cyborg Kaburagi. I'll try to be clear where we are because it does jump back and forth a lot. It'll show him at a computer console doing research and then show him talking to Natsume. And I just wrote Kaburagi does this. And I'm like, oh, wait, I need to clarify. This is the
context.
Yeah. So the human, anytime Natsume is there, it's usually the human.
Yeah.
Almost always. Yeah, she has to fight. And she's like, if you don't, I have this picture of Pipe and I'll blackmail you. And he's like, I don't care. Because he's actually getting ready to commit suicide. He's not eating. Okay, one more thing about the cyborg design, they eat out of their butts. I was like, seriously, how I want to take this anime seriously, and you're having people shove food in their butt.
No, they don't always, because when we see him in his past and he's with Mike and he's getting food out of the dispenser, he puts it to his belly button.
Oh, I know Minato's is on his butt and his is currently on his butt.
Yeah, and now his is, or at least like the belt, I think the belt like opens up and he has access to the stomach one. I think that being fed in that manner is probably just a great dishonor. They don't seem to like it. I don't think that's what they want to eat.
Well, so also there was different qualities of the Oxy one. So like they take the blood from these Gadul and they refine it into fuel for the cyborgs. Like it's funny because even though they're just playing a video game, this substance that they harvest is actually vital to their existence.
Yeah.
And the quality that he kept looking at, because he had a vial of this stuff and he was like purposefully not eating it. It was one vial was 175 years.
Yeah.
And I think the stuff that they were getting fed in the prison was like days.
Yeah.
So, and there was a big difference between the quality of those two.
Yep.
But yeah, it wasn't so much like he was gonna like turn himself off, but yeah, he was just not refueling.
It's like, this is enough. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah. We should also talk about the villain of the story, because who's the guy who killed Mike and sent him to this thing. His name is Hugin, and he has this little system bot that stays with him and turns into a bird in the real world. Thoughts on Hugin?
Awesome.
I thought he was a great antagonist.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't particularly interesting, but I love that he was just this cold, calculating, I am the system, or I represent the system. System has said X, I will execute on it. and but it had this very like corporate overlord tone to it as well. So I thought that was really he was really interesting to watch, and like the way he would threaten and extort was pretty interesting too.
Yeah. There was a little while where I thought he was the system, and the way they were talking about him made it seem like he was the system,
or at least in charge of it.
Yeah, exactly. And his character design is so different from everybody else. He basically is a big Rubik's Cube, is what he looks like. Although the different things don't change, like you don't spin him very much. And he's just got this head that sticks out of the Rubik's Cube at the top. Well, I should say it faces forward. The head comes out of the front of the Rubik's Cube at the top block. And he's got like these big old glasses, big old shades. And
I love those just transferred to the real world.
Yes, it's so cool. And he's so intimidating. Even though he's just a cube with a face, he's so intimidating. They do such a good job making him scary. He literally punishes these gears whenever he needs to punish them. He gives them the death sentence with his own hands. He grabs them and he essentially cuts them open like Sylar did in Heroes and takes their brains out. Like, and the show does not pull back from letting you see this. And it just, I don't know, it actually was really, I felt that. I was like, oh man, this is brutal.
I had the same thought. The threat of him makes him his presence so important to the story. It was great. He was a great villain, and that he truly believes that what he's doing is right and is the right thing to do. Yeah, he's just a presence at all times.
And he's really the only entity in this world that has basically superpowers.
Right? Yes. He can fly. He can put his hands through whatever he wants to, basically.
Lightning bolts.
Yep.
Yes, right.
Okay, back to the story. So after she has asked him to teach her to fight, and he's rejected her, she sees him wander off into like a dark alley, and she goes after him, and he's doing a collection of a bug. And she sees him over the dead body, and she's like, I can't believe you did that. And he's like, oh, wow, I can't believe the last bug I'm going to have to collect is her, because now she's seen too much. She's going to die, and I'm going to have to get her, and then I'll be dying here pretty soon. But then nothing happens. She doesn't flag as a bug. And then she reveals that she's like, if you needed money, you didn't have to rob some drunk guy. I'll give you money, boss.
Not realizing he's dead.
Right?
Yeah.
And then he's really confused. And he goes and he does some research, the robot version in the computer, and she's not in the database. She's actually registered as dead. We find out later, when she was in the ambulance, her heart stopped for like 10 seconds. And they had to do CPR and they resuscitated her. But because of that, her chip has registered her as dead. And she is officially a bug in the system, which he's supposed to report. But since we know from Pipe, sometimes he likes to collect those things. And this gives him the motivation to not die. He's like, I'm going to help this bug.
Yeah, I want to see what this bug's going to do. This is interesting. This meant so much to me in the sense of like, I understand where this character is coming from, because it's so easy to get bored with the same thing over and over again, right? Like, let's say you had one game and that's the only game you could ever play, and you've been playing it for hundreds of years. Or even let's just say 30 years. You know? And then this thing comes along.
What are you trying to say about me?
I know. Path of Exile. And then one of the monsters starts having a conversation with you. You wouldn't want to kill it.
That makes sense. So we then go on to basically a training montage, and he explains to her like how the fields work and how the flying works and how the needles work. And like at first she's like super sick from flying through the air, but the training montage goes well. She gets better, but she is limited by her robot hand.
I do love that the Godot that they pick is basically just a marshmallow on legs.
Yeah. Changes into a weird centipede thing, but yeah.
No,
yeah.
it's great because it's like, hey, this is one of the easy ones. I'll teach you how to fight on it. They kill it, and another one just shows up ready to go. And she's like, oh, there must be a nest. And he's like, this is a tutorial level.
Yeah. They'll just keep coming.
Like, this is a pre-programmed place to learn how to fight.
Mhm.
Yeah, again, putting the video game, but it's real world at the same time is just such a cool concept that it makes everything so much fun to watch. It's why this is so entertaining.
No, these are the level 1 boars right outside of town.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
These are the rats.
Yep.
So he takes her to a CD mechanic, and he upgrades her arm so basically it can fire needles now. It can transform into a projectile fire. She can load the giant hypodermic needle into it and shoot it out. And also, she goes from 3 fingers to 5 fingers with the upgrade.
I was really hoping this guy would have more of a role in the anime, but
The shopkeeper
character. Yeah.
Another thing I think he would, but again, we're going so fast. He appears in like 3 scenes. He's around sometimes, but
Yeah,
he's
that's
not
true.
important.
Yep.
Yeah, this anime's packed full of characters, and they get no screen time.
Yep.
They go out to test the arm, but then there's another attack from underground, and Deca Dence actually is ground to a halt, and their car crashes, and Pipe, who she had taken to dressing like a dog so that it could go out around the world, even though it still doesn't look like a dog at all.
Plus,
Nobody
I didn't see any other dogs either.
Right.
So like,
But yeah, so Pipe gets lost in this underground cavern, so they go down to find it, both because you can't have a bug running loose. That would be bad. And she wants to save the pet. And then they run into the battle. Also, in this battle, the leader of the power, the humans that fight, we see Kurenai. She's the cool, awesome fighter girl lady. She is pretty awesome, but I love that she's a fangirl for one character. What are your guys' thoughts on her?
I really liked her. I thought she was a cool addition to the cast. Yeah, and I think her defining quality is that she's bad action, but she's also total fangirl for one of the top rankers. But I love that she not only does the needle thing, but she also has her huge staff that she stabs stuff with. So that was cool.
yeah, it's like a giant trident almost. Yeah, she was really cool. There wasn't anything like, I don't know, of a lot of the characters that kind of got some limelight, I think that she had the least importance. I mean, as far as facilitating things, she had a few moments where she was, giving counsel to Natsume that were very important. But beyond that, yeah, she was just there. But I did enjoy when she was in her fighting scenes, and I loved the fangirl stuff. It was really funny.
Yeah, her thing is, hey, he's the coolest, so just trust him, okay?
Right, exactly.
How does she know Kaburagi?
Apparently, he's only been in the armoring. Like, he's been punished for short enough period of time that he either fought when she was young or fought alongside her or something. It had to have been like 10 years ago.
He had to have been in power at one point then.
I was under the impression he was a gear that decided to leave the service of fighting.
There's no way she would know. No, he's a tanker.
He didn't have a choice.
And he looks human. They don't think he's a gear.
Okay.
No, he was a gear. He was a gear. He was called a ranker, and that's a group of gears.
No, he was in real life. He really was, but she wouldn't know that.
No, to the tankers,
gears are a different race. She would think he didn't change. Well, I mean, he did change races, but to Kurenai, he didn't.
I don't think she thinks he's human.
I didn't get the impression that his avatar changed when he got sentenced to be in the armor.
We saw he had a different avatar.
Well, but that's later. That's the
one.
That's
right. He was more orange, wasn't he?
No, before. Not the new one he gets. In the past, in the flashback. He was not human skin colored. Gears don't have human skin color.
No.
Are
You're
you
right.
sure?
His skin was much more orange, but he had the same face.
It was very similar, but now he has a very human form. She has to know him as a human.
Okay, but here's the weird part is because if they basically just changed his skin color and said, okay, well now you're going to be a tanker and you're not going to be a gear, so we're keeping your same avatar because he has the same avatar that he had before because he still has the experience, he still has the ability to move in it. It's an old
Mm-hmm.
familiar avatar. So that means they had to change it. They had to reskin it. And we did see that up there where the gears are, there's a place where you can change your skin color. So that wouldn't be beyond them. They could easily do that. The issue I think would be how do you get it so that there's no way that he served with the powers, but she knew him to be a really amazing fighter.
It seems like he may have had a bunch of opportunities because I remember hearing that this version of Kaburagi was fighting. I'm not sure with who, but he was fighting and decided to step down and be an armorer. Like he left the fighting service. I'm not sure which group he was fighting for, but that's how she knows him, is that he was an amazing fighter and he decided to step down.
But that's not possible because when the system punished him, they forced him to be an armorer immediately after stopping from being a ranker. And then he was told later,
Was it immediate?
It was immediate. And he was told later, you've served your time. You've been an armor repairer long enough. You can finally come back and fight. So he wasn't supposed to fight from the moment that he got punished.
So you think that everyone knows that he's a gear who's just living among the tankers?
That's what I thought. Yeah.
I was kind of under that impression, but I don't have any evidence to support that that's what they thought.
Okay, I assume because he looked human, everyone thought he was human. All right, we're gonna let it go. We're gonna keep going.
Trucking along.
Training. Oh yeah, they found the underground battle. Natsume sees a bunch of gears get killed. She goes and hides. She talks herself up, and she's like, "No, I can do this." And she goes out and she kicks some butt against some gears, and she actually saves Pipe before he gets killed. And then this big roly-poly Godal shows up, and we see Kurenai kill it. And then she comes up and talks to Natsume, and she's like, "Hey, you're a pretty good fighter. What division are you in?" She's like, "Well, I'm not in power. I was just here." And she's like, "Well, if you can fight, you're in power now." And you gotta understand that's been Natsume's dream for these whole 3 episodes. God, it feels like half a season's gone by. But yeah, these 3-4 episodes, she has wanted to join the power, and now she's made it. And she's like, "Kabu, I made it!" And then Kurenai's like, "Oh my God, Kabu's here!" And she gets all excited. Yeah, so they win. And then so she becomes part of power, and she gets assigned to this team of triplets, and basically is getting ready. And then Kabu learns of a new event that's coming, which is a big winter event at the foot of Mount Everest. So you gotta understand, when Deca Dence rolls up to their next battle to all the cyborgs, that's like the new expansion pack coming out, or however you want to see it. So they know this storyline is coming, this winter battle, and there's going to be a fight against the Alpha, who's protecting the nest of the Godals.
And everyone knows the storyline. They're supposed to lose.
Right. Minato comes to Kabu, and I don't think we skipped over Minato. He's the commander of Deca Dence, the one who orders the fist to Punchy. But he's
but also like where they go, how Deca Dence is, like he manages it as well.
But he is also a cyborg, even though he has a gear body at Deca Dence. He comes to Kabu and is like, "Hey, this next event," because I think Kabu wants to join it. He's like, "No, this is going to be a loss in the storyline. The humans are going to lose. They're going to lose a bunch of them. A bunch of gears are going to die. And then we're going to introduce legendary hunters are coming back, like yourself, to help save Deca Dence."
This sounds
Kabu.
just like a WoW expansion story.
Right?
Yes.
So Kabu goes to Natsume and he's like, "Hey, you need to quit. You need to not do this. Don't go on this mission." And of course, she's worried about it. She actually does quit, and then Kurenai talks her back into it. She decides, "Okay, I do want to do this," and she ends up going.
Well, this is super important to the humans because they believe if they knock out this one, they'll knock out all Gaduls.
Gadolls.
Right.
Or Gadals. Yeah, like this is the linchpin in
This
there.
is the nest. Yeah, this is where they all are coming from.
Like this will bring peace.
But the alpha has been designed not to lose.
Yeah.
The guard. He also creates fog. Natsume gets assigned to one of the groups sent directly at the alpha while everyone else is fighting the regular battle. Their group goes, they find a bunch of dead gears and bodies in there of people who have already tried. They start attacking it. It's not going well. It's super fast. It's super smart. It's creating fog to make your vision obscured. She goes after
their packs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
takes out their flame packs. She goes after it and it beats her. And I actually thought the triplet sister, the commander of her group, sacrifices herself to save her, but she ends up surviving.
Yeah.
And then Natsume manages to hit it. She gets a needle into it and it pulls it out and throws it back at her, showing how. And then because these things heal up really fast, which is why you have to kill them with the bleeding out technique. You can't just cut off a limb; they'll regenerate. Kabu shows up and saves her, and he's like, "You, we got to run away." And she's like, "Nope, I'm here with people." And she convinces him to help. She gets everyone that's there out while he fights the alpha, and he unleashes his limiter. And
while Minato is like begging him, "Do not kill this thing.
This thing's not supposed to lose. The story is set. You can't do this." He releases his limiter and he kills it, changing the storyline.
Now, I think we also have to mention just how much of a difference releasing the limiter is, because he's fighting it before releasing the limiter, and the thing is just, it's wasting him. I mean, he lands a shot here or there, but it's clearly winning. He is not going to win this fight. He removes the limiter, and he doesn't even need to shoot the needle anymore. He starts using his hand and driving the needle in from every which direction. He's faster. He's strong enough to just do this. It is like magnitudes, orders of magnitude difference. Yeah. I think that's important because this does come back later when the situation is very similar, where like, oh, the limiter, that wouldn't be that big. Oh, wait, no, it's the limiter. It changes things drastically.
One thing I think we skipped over, if a gear dies, they actually have to start from level 1 again.
Yes,
they're
all playing in iron mode.
Yeah, they're like, oh, hardcore.
Yep, yeah. They actually say that. I love
that. With suddenly a giant Gadol emerges, and it's like half falling apart, half trying to attack Deca Dence, and we see like the guys who are in charge of running the program are like, this thing was not ready, what are we doing, why are we releasing this, we're just doing what we can. And so all the gears and everyone starts attacking this thing. Deca Dence is getting ready to do its fist pump. It has a giant energy cannon. Kabu takes out one of its legs so that it misses its shot, and then they're able to one punch it and kill it. And all the Gadol are defeated, and everyone's standing around celebrating. The humans are so happy. They were celebrating before the battle, like this is going to be the end of the war. Like they're pumped, and it's nighttime, and then suddenly there's like a screen wipe across the sky, and now there's Gadol everywhere, flying across the sky again. And
the snow disappears, and it's like foliage. It's bright out.
Yeah,
and and there's kaiju versions are like going in the background,
like land whales just walking around everywhere. Yep. And I love the fact that the whole reason why Minato did this, he says right beforehand, he's like, "Well, I'm going to get in trouble anyway, so why not?" And then all of a sudden, the hologram drops.
Right. They didn't do anything. Didn't make any difference. And then Kabu goes off to accept his punishment, and Hugin is there, and Hugin zaps his avatar, and that's the end. This is episode 5, and this was a season finale if I've ever seen one. Like,
Yeah.
it's straight up huge stakes, big battle, giant monster shows up, huge twist ending, and I'm like, we are 5 episodes in. This is when I wrote the message to you guys. This anime has balls. Holy crap!
Like, where do they go from here? Is what I
Right?
was thinking.
Yep.
Yep.
And where we go from here is prison. So first we see Kabu's human avatar is being kept in storage. We don't know where. We just see it resting in like a red container. And then he's brought before Hugin in his cyborg body, who's like, and he's ready to be executed. And Hugin's like, nope. Apparently, we're not executing you. That's not what the system says. You're being sent down. You're being sent to prison. And he's launched down to Earth. And this is when I realized, oh, these are not digital people. These are real people. And he's so there's a Godal building facility in a lake. At the bottom of that lake is a mine prison where all the poop from the Godal falls down, and these cyborgs have to process the poop and mine it while more is falling down on their heads. They're also giving
it too.
Yeah, they'll die. Yes.
they're given really crappy Oxyon food. It's like
right.
it's almost like a drug.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
and it's always given to them anally.
Yeah.
Yep. Even if they don't have to be fed that way, it's just meant to make them uncomfortable.
Right. Kabu decides he's going to work his hardest so he can get out of there someday. And so he becomes a diligent worker. And then a guy named Sark, he turns the poop into alcohol. And that's like his one thing is he feeds everyone alcohol. And he's like, yeah, no one gets released from here. No one escapes from here. This is forever. This is till you die.
Yeah, and he's so like shoddy and bolted together. Like he's one of the few gears that I saw, one of the few cyborgs that I saw that actually has like chunky parts that just are completely mismatched and looks like they're from like this one was pulled off a car and this one was pulled off of, I don't know. I loved his character design. He cracked me up so bad.
This reminded me of that Robin Williams movie,
Robots.
Yeah.
It was Robin Williams' character that was all junky like this.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I guess they shovel the Godol poo into this like centrifuge area, which refines it into a fuel to run this place, is what we're led to believe.
Yeah. It fuels the place up above to the facility. Yeah, that produces the Godal.
Anyway, also Sark mentions that the Godal haven't been attacking the humans since the big event, the winter event. And he's like, wait, how do you know that? He's like, oh, some of the inmates have the ability to log into the system and play Deca Dence. Oh, yeah, the third name of Deca Dence is the game. The game is literally called Deca Dence. Yep. In the city of Deca Dence, in the anime Deca Dence. So he goes to, he has Sark take him, and it's his old Ranker gang. It's that got arrested because of him. It's Donatello, a guy named Turkey, and there's also a woman named Jill. Now, I want to talk about Donatello, and I want to talk about Jill, and I do ship them. So, Jason, what do you think of them?
Donatello's pretty one note, but I like how one note he is and what he like. Basically, he just wants something interesting and for it to be violent. He's definitely loyal to his friends, which I really liked. Kind of honed those two defining characteristics about him. But I really enjoyed his part in this because whether he's in his cyborg form or whether he's in an avatar, he is just a full throttle all the time. Mm-hmm. And I really enjoyed Jill. I thought like she's got so much mystery around her, yet she belonged in an Ocean's 11 style movie. Like she was like the back end hacker that kind of knows stuff, and you're like, wait, how do you know that kind of thing? She's definitely got some history with some characters that we don't get full context of, and I'm kind of happy we didn't because it leaves a little mystery about her. But she's also got that soft spot to where she's okay, fine, I'll help you out with this, even though it's really dumb and we're gonna get in trouble or someone's gonna die. I'll help you. Like, she was a really cool character.
Mm-hmm. So Donatello, if I could sum it up easily, I think it would be Robot Barrett. Final Fantasy VII. He's got a gun arm. He's huge. He's really well built, and he is, like you were saying, Jason, just violence and wanting to be entertained, wanting to see something interesting. But he's more, yeah. But he's happier than Barrett. Barrett puts on that face of happiness, but he's actually got a lot of angst going on underneath. This guy doesn't. He is genuinely like, no, I'm going to have fun until the day I die. And that's how it goes. And I loved him for it. I thought he was really cool. There was especially that one scene where he's in a fight with our main character, Kabu. And, neither one of them uses the special extra weapons that they have as cyborgs. And I thought that's really cool because he does have honor, even though he's a big, violent, gang leader. He actually has honor, and it was, I don't know, I thought he was really entertaining that way. Jill was all right. I liked her. Like you were saying, Jason, she definitely came off as like the hacker. That was her job of like a heist movie or something. But yeah, she was interesting. I don't think I have anything really to add to her. Like, yeah, just everything you said.
Donatello is definitely a trope character, but he's a trope that I love. And I like, he didn't do anything wrong to end up in prison.
No.
Except for not snitch. And
he even told Mikey not to do it. He's like, you don't want to know about it.
You don't want to do that. But and his moment at the end is one of the moments that made me smile the most. And I absolutely love Jill. She's probably my favorite character. I love the mystery about her. She is the Oracle from the Matrix.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
but with a lot more sass. And I love me some sass. I do. I love that she's like, I can hurt you in ways you can't imagine. And like stuff starts coming out of her fingers. So I'm like, yeah, that's a character.
Donatello not only takes on like an entire police force, which we'll get to, but like everyone's afraid of his size. And here she is on top of him, like pounding him with her foot, going, you idiot.
She's like this ball with this fuzzy hair too. I love her.
Female white Mike Wazowski.
Yes, totally.
So, like Jeremy mentioned, to be allowed to use the game, Kabu has to survive a death battle with Donatello, which is being on top of the blender thing that we mentioned that processes the poop. And if you fall down and die, you lose. And they have shovels for weapons. And, Donatello's like 6 feet tall, and Kabu's form is like 4 feet tall. So he's way, undersized. But they fight, and he's losing mostly, but he manages to rip off Donatello's head fin and then point it at his cyber brain inside of his body and tell him to surrender. But instead, Donatello just knocks them both off and they fall down into the goop. But then Kabu reveals that and we've seen it on him, he has a rocket pack on his back and it works and he flies them out of it. And Donatello's like, oh, you could have used that the whole time. He's like, yeah, I didn't. And then Turkey starts talking stuff, and Donatello shoots at him. And he's like, wait, you had a gun arm the whole time? He's like, yeah, but I didn't want to use it. And I'm like, all right, we're best friends now.
Right? Did we just become best friends?
So they keep up their end of the deal, and they log him in, and the screen fills up with begin new game, and like shows you go through the option menu, and he clicks on new game. And
I
then
wanted to screenshot that and send it to you guys so bad, but I was like, no, that's a terrible spoiler. You can't do this. You can't do it.
It's an avatar creation menu. I love it.
Yeah.
and like a plot line, like, hey, the city of Decadence, and like it's the beginning of a video game, and
Yep.
yeah, it's really good. But yeah, he creates a new avatar, and as soon as he logs in, there's already a new Godal attack. The next wave has come out, so fighting has resumed, and there's now a hole in Decadence into the tanker city, the human city, that the Godal are attacking in. So we see him go down there to help fight, and most of the gears are outside fighting the Godal invasion, but the power is trying to stop the ones that are getting inside.
Oh my god. I know
I
why they're
love
called
this.
tankers.
Because they're in the tank.
Their city is
they're
inside
in-
the
yes.
tank. Oh,
Yeah.
I just got that.
Yeah. Yep.
Everything about this is about machinery. Like even the episode names are all about like different parts of a car.
Sprockets.
Yeah,
Drive shaft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, so they kill the Godal.
Okay.
He sees.
This is amazing because we find out that the reason I think this conversation happens before. Yeah, this conversation happens before he goes out there and starts to fight. The reason that they're allowing this hole in the side and to allow the Godal into Decadence is because they want to cull the population of the tankers.
Right, because that's what the alpha
Minato.
was supposed to do. But they killed it.
Yeah. And Minato openly says that to Kabu. And when they did that, I was like, okay, that's, like you said, Troy, big kahunas, because it's just open honesty about what would they do in this situation. They clearly don't care about these humans. They're finding them to actually be a little bit of an annoyance right now. There's too many of them. They're starting to fill the tank up too much. We need room for our fuel. So we need a cold population. And there's a scene where after the battle and everything, there's the humans that are saying, oh God, so much blood. Oh my God, just kill me now. It hurts, it hurts, it hurts. And then you see the gears in the foreground, and they're saying, man, that was kind of a weak encounter. Or no. One of them says, that was pretty close. That's what he says. That was pretty close. And then another one says, yeah, but that's what makes it fun, right? And that contrast was so good of
Right.
like the NPCs, the real humans versus the players. It's just so well done.
So yeah, after the battle, and then like you said, he calls Minato, and then he can't get a hold of him with that avatar, so he finds him out having a smoke break where he always goes to have smoke, and that's when he finds out about the humans. And then he goes and tries to talk to Natsume, but she's talking with the power about like, how are we going to patch up that hole? And she's like, well, if we took all the house repair kits from everybody, we would have enough to repair the hole. And they're like, yeah, but no one's going to give up their personal repair kits. And so she goes like to the butchers, the butcher group, right? The entire group that's in charge of food, and is like, hey, can you help us with this? And the head butcher's like, yeah, no, no, that's stupid. And she talked to her best friend, who's like, you just got to quit trying so much. Nobody wants to go out to the hole where the monsters are and fix it. That's crazy. But she gets down, but then everyone, she's right. We all should help, patch up this hole and Minato gets told that too. Like, hey, the humans are patching up the hole. He's like, oh, well, good for them, I guess. Jill's mad at him for talking to Minato, though. She's like, do not get caught.
Yeah, she's like, get out of there, log out.
Right. He goes and actually talks to Kuba talks to Natsume and pretends he knows Kabu, who's just disappeared now randomly. And he's like, yeah, you saved him. You don't owe him anything. And she starts crying, and he's like, all right, you know what? I'm destroying this whole darn thing. I'm gonna tear it all down.
Yep.
Yeah.
You made my friend cry.
Then he goes and he tells Donatello, we're gonna have a party. We're gonna destroy the factory that's above us. And Donatello's like, I'm in. That sounds
Right,
awesome.
Like no convincing whatsoever. He's like, destruction? Yes.
The problem is there is a force field that protects the entire area. That if anyone with a chip walks through it, if they are a player, they will fall unconscious. If they are a human, they will fall down dead. So only people without chips can walk through this barrier. He's like, well, my old avatar won't have a chip anymore, and I know a human who happens to not have a chip. So Jill does like a prank call to Minato, and so that he'll look up where he's the one storing the body because it's his friend. He's doing this, to be nice, but he looks it up, and then she's like hacked his system, so she sees where it is. So they all get avatars, and they all go, and they have this scene where they go and steal his body.
I love it.
It's a heist. It's also at the same time, Hugin, the security system, goes to Minato and he's like, we've discovered you're keeping something, and I want you to go pull it up. So they're at the same time trying to pull the body to them, while these guys are like it's like the Monsters Inc. door scene where you're writing on the door.
It's exactly like that.
Basically, it's an avatar storage system, right?
And it's the first one to the illegal body is basically the race.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of cool stuff happens in the scene, but I am trying to go fast. But at the end, Kabu gets his body, and then when it arrives at Minato and Hugin, it opens up and there's a sex toy inside it. A, that's funny. B, it makes no sense why he had that. Like, where did he get that to add that to the cart? This isn't a digital world. You can't just, produce sex toy. Like, you had to have carried that. What?
Right?
Yep.
But it was very funny.
I love it. Yeah, and like Hugin's like, as long as you do that on your own time and in private, it's fine. And he walks away. Yeah. The one call out I have about the scene, I love that what's his face has to kill Stark.
Me too.
Because he won't shut up.
Yep.
I didn't even realize.
It's all because, huh?
Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's all because Sark is, he's such a drunk, and I don't know why they let him bring alcohol with his avatar. like of all things.
I didn't even realize it was Sark until he started drinking, and I'm like, oh, that makes sense that he would look like that.
Yep.
Yeah. So they get the body. Donatello. Okay, so then with the body he goes and gets Natsume, and he's like, hey, I have this plan, and she's like, I'm in. He's like, wait, let me tell you the plan. She's like, nope, I'm in. It's like, all right. So they start heading out towards the facility. At the same time, Donatello is rallying the inmates, starting a riot. They light the poop on fire.
I love that the smoke goes up and they just immediately puke as soon as it hits their nose.
They just all start cascade puking.
Nope, I jumped a little ahead. So Donatello he's trying to get everyone in on the plan, and everyone's like, I don't know about this. And then Jill comes forth and is like, the food you eat is literally the poop you process. That's what they do with the poop. They just put it back into you. And everyone's like, oh my god, that's so disgusting. We have to break out of here.
Oh, that's right. Because everyone else starts puking from the knowledge.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And then Kabu and Natsume say goodbye to Pipe. I really thought they were going to save him somehow. It's like, he's going to be special because he's a bug.
He's so sad. They leave him in there with some food and some water, and like Kabu gives these knowing glances, and I'm like, oh god, no.
It didn't even hit me. I thought he was saying like, here's food and water, as much as I can give you. I'm not coming back.
Yeah,
like, that's what I thought too. Mission.
Yeah.
And then when they do the thing, and I'm like, oh, that sucks.
Pipe wasn't gonna make it. Oh.
So they have to get to a switch, which basically just exterminates all the Godal at once. It's
genocide Godal system or something.
Right. Because of course you build a system, you want to have ultimate control of it. This is the flush of the system, and then they also need to destroy the reactor. So yeah, this is where they set the poop on fire. That makes the guards start throwing up, but it also pollutes the lake above them, so that the Godal start freaking out and they start making fields everywhere throughout this entire facility, which lets Natsume and Kabu just fly right in. However, inside the facility is Hugin because
I was not expecting that.
Me neither.
One of Donatello's right hand man, whose name is Turkey, has betrayed them with the help of Sark. He manipulated him into it. I mean, the guy has pointy teeth.
Yeah, he
Right?
was super obvious villain.
Right.
Obvious villain is all of these.
But yeah, they had told the system that this was going to happen, hoping that it would help save them, that the plan would get stopped before anyone died. Well, that's what Sark was hoping. Turkey just wanted chaos.
Yeah, he was hoping that telling would allow him to go back.
Right.
Yeah. He was Cypher.
So, a really cool fight between Kabu, Natsume, and Hugin, which is basically them just getting their butt kicked by Hugin until the Jill literally hacks his vision and makes him see duplicates. But then the system is so fast, like the duplicates start disappearing, and they're like, "Oh, we're screwed."
I love that the bird turns out to be a security suite in that moment. Is what we're told, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah. So when Hugin's in his human form, this thing looks like a crow with like weird eyes, and it starts reverse hacking Jill, who's trying to help. Donatello, he went and joined the Godal battle. Because, it's the last one. I got to get some more kills in. And exactly. Jill pulls him out like, we're doing a prison break. What are you doing? So he goes, and so these other super advanced guards start showing up with laser beams that can kill cyborgs. And he basically goes and he fights them.
It's grotesque. I know they're robots, but dang.
Yeah.
It was so cartoony. It was hard to take serious.
Not for me. Oof.
That was my big problem with it. Is this is so cartoony? I have a hard time taking it seriously. This part. The story beats are perfect. Anyway, Donatello starts beating up those guards. Sark gets hit, and he's like, "Turkey, let's escape." And Turkey's like, "No. I don't need you. I was using you. You're an idiot." And leaves him.
Yeah, because Sark's bleeding out at this point, right?
Right. Yep. And then Donatello catches Turkey and kills him. Throws him into the poop blender at the bottom. And Sark, realizing how he's messed up, but then being inspired by Kabu, just like Kabu is of Natsume, turns himself into a bomb and throws himself into it. This blows up all the way up to the facility above and destroys the reactor. Also starts flooding that facility, and Kabu's able to use that flooding to knock out Hugin, so that they're able to get to the big button, and they get there and they press it and they kill all the Godal. And then Natsume's like, "Wait, I have questions."
Yeah.
And she starts asking these questions, and he starts telling her the truth, that everything in your world is fabricated, and you live in a video game.
Even my body.
Yeah, I'm not real, and the monsters weren't real. It was all just for fun. She goes into shock and passes out.
Yeah.
Yep. Also, what's happening, that we had seen a couple scenes with like the engineers who make the Godal, and they had this little like seahorse pet that they tried to make do tricks. That's a Godal. And when the facility starts going bad, they start leaving, and it like grabs the main guy, and he gets mad and like throws it against the wall, and then it stings him in the stomach, and he's like, "Oh, screw you!" And he runs out, and it fades away and dies. And then they get trapped in an elevator as this facility shuts down, and he looks down, he's got 2 puncture wounds, and then eventually he gets aliened. Like a monster just comes out and it eats them, and it starts getting bigger and starts eating more people. So all the Godal are dead, but because of everything that's happened, a new thing has been born.
No chip.
No chip.
Yep.
Much more dangerous. Natsume wakes up while they're driving back, and he's like, "Your dad was killed because he found out the truth." And she's like, "I wish I didn't know the truth. This is terrible." He's like, "Oh, I thought you would want to know."
Miscalculated that one.
She's mad at him. Um, they return back to Deca Dence. Pipe is dead. The humans are celebrating, but Natsume doesn't want to celebrate because she's upset, and Kurenai kind of helps her feel better. But then Kabu has to write a note to her, and then he has to sign off because basically he has to then go take part in the prison escape. A bunch of security guards run in, but it turns out to be a trap, a bomb made of poop, and they all die. And then we see a Jeep break out of the facility, and all the inmate cyborgs are in the Jeep because you can fit that many in just one Jeep.
Because they're tiny.
Yeah, and they drive out, and but then Kabu realizes, oh, Natsume has now been registered as a bug in the system, so she's in danger. So they go to a old part of Deca Dence that had fallen off that they could use to log in. That's going to be their hideout. He logs in to go check on her right when she goes to his house to check on him because now she feels bad about yelling at him. And then Hugin shows up and kills him, his avatar. But he was like, I can't find this Natsume. I know she's a bug. I have an idea. He went to their house. Meanwhile, this giant monster thing, now this new Godzilla thing, is walking past all the inmate cyborgs, and they're like, "Oh, did we do that? That's bad." And Kabu logs back in with his other avatar, the new one he had made, kills Hugin, and they need to come up with a plan to defeat this monster.
I did love, like, even though it was a quick scene, watching Natsume have to put the pieces together of how this is Kabu.
Yes. Like she had been told, but it really hadn't sunk in.
Right.
This body was manufactured.
And this idea didn't even exist in this world till he just told her, like, literally 30 minutes ago.
Exactly. Yep. I was really surprised that spear was all it took to kill Hugin, too. I thought for sure he'd put up more of a fight, but it does make sense. I mean, it's
his avatar is going to be built on the same principles as the other avatars.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
One question: do you think the monster would have attacked if they hadn't? Because they attack first. They even say
I do not think it would have.
I don't think so either.
That's interesting. Anyway, so like I said, it doesn't attack, and they're like, well, it doesn't have a chip. It's not programmed to attack anything. And they're like, okay, well, we're gonna punch it. and they only could do like they're almost out of fuel, so they only have like a 60% power punch, and they punch it, and it just like catches it. And like Jason said, it's like two fists that punch, and it rips one of the fists off and just like throws it aside. And it also has it starts evolving. Because
gets pissed.
The cyborgs are like, okay, we're just gonna fire our spaceship beam at it, and when they start firing it, it like looks up and fires back and blocks it.
Actually, takes out that cannon on the.
Yeah.
Its blast is more powerful. Yeah.
So the cyborgs, the system decides, well, then we'll just turn this off. Like,
time to shut the game down.
Yeah, turn the game off. Which will literally destroy. Like they show a simulation of it, and it just like wipes out everything. Like nothing is real. But
it's a compression.
Yeah,
so there's a force field that will compress down and just destroy everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
So yeah. So like, okay, we gotta defeat this monster to convince the system to not kill everything. And Jill comes up with the idea, well, you could use Deca Dence as an avatar, technically. I may have built a way to connect to it.
I did not see this coming. This was another twist where I was like, this is cool. Okay.
You guys catch me if I miss anything, because I'm going to go fast.
Sure.
Basically, Kabu gets upgraded so that he can connect to Deca Dence, while everyone else is fighting the babies that are coming off of this thing. Kind of like Cloverfield, it just drops more monsters off of it. And he drives in the Jeep all the way to Deca Dence, passes Natsume, who's like, wait, what was that thing? What was driving that thing? So she goes off and she finds the cyborg inmates, and she's like, oh, this is what you all look like. You're adorable. The best line in this anime. She thinks we're cute, not you.
Yeah, exactly.
Kabu connects to the system, and Minato ends up helping him. We really skipped over his character, but he's basically Kabu's best friend who just wants to fight with it, be on his side again, like the old days. But he's a member of the system, so he's like, "Why are you keep rebelling because of a stupid human?" And he's there to yell at him, and then Kabu's like, "Actually, I need you to plug me in." He's like, "Wait, you knew I would come here?" He's like, "Yeah, I was hoping." So yeah, they plug him in. And
That
then
seems to be a through line throughout a lot of characters is I want to change and do better, but they've got this best friend that's like, I don't want you to change. I just want things to stay the way they are.
yeah, that's true. That is a nice
true.
parallel.
Mm-hmm.
So while it doesn't boot up right away. So Minato's like, "Okay, bridge crew, I need you to get on this." And like, "That's illegal." He's like, "Do it." And they're like, "Okay, sir, we're on it." But also because all the cyborgs are like, "This is the game. Our favorite game's being shut down," and they also need to collect. And this is Natsume's idea. They're like, "We need a weapon for Decadence," and so they're going to grab all the old pieces, like this base is, and re-add them back into Decadence so he can build a new weapon from it.
Hang on.
Go ahead.
Those are not from this Decadence.
Yeah.
Those are
you're
from
right.
previous Decadences.
Yeah.
Quick question. How did Minato's cyborg body get down to Decadence?
I assume that he flew down because he has that ability, because he's like an anti-grav version.
So he can go back and forth between the floating ship and Decadence?
I'd have to assume it, yeah.
Yeah, because it's like he's now controlling it, not with his avatar. And I'm like, why is he there with his real body? This is weird.
Yeah. I think it may have been because of where he had to go inside of the Decadence core, that maybe his avatar couldn't go in there. And so in order
so
to
he pulled
go
his,
in there,
pulled his real body down.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Going on.
I was 100% expecting Decadence to turn into a walking, like, bipedal.
Me too.
Yeah, I thought we were going to
Yes.
get a robot kaiju fight.
Yeah.
Anyway, everyone starts logging into the game. This is the final mission of the game, which Minato has put out. Like, final mission, grab the pieces for Decadence. So everyone starts logging in and helping, and the humans are helping, and they have to inject the Oxyon into these buildings so that they are connectable. Meanwhile, then Kabu is in the system and he talks to the actual system, which turns out was the bird thing, but not the bird thing we talked to. It was just inside the bird thing waiting. And it's like, this has happened. This happens. Yes, this is very much. At this point, I realized we just watched the Matrix trilogy, done it a very different way, but almost all the exact same themes about like free will and self versus the system. But yeah, she even says like, yeah, there's bugs in the system. There's supposed to be bugs in the system. That's how the systems work. You have to have bugs. This all has to happen. But look, we just reboot. It's fine. Nothing you're going to do is going to change anything. You're going to lose. Let it go. And he's like, you need to let me do this. And she's like, all right. So he builds the weapon, which instead of a giant fist is a giant cone, pointy. Spear.
Yeah, it's like a spearhead, like a jousting tip.
Right. And then like the last piece is being pushed by Natsume herself. She's trying to fly it in, and then the other power come up and start helping her, and he like. So there's tentacles, and he uses the tentacles to like pull it in, but he also pulls them in so they'll be safe inside of Decadence.
Inside the spearhead.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't get that part, but anyway.
Why?
Go with it.
It shows that they're like bundled and wrapped with these light fibers, and so I'm assuming that that's like some kind of special cushion that's protecting them as the
impact would have killed them. But anyways,
exactly.
Going forward, he drives the spike into this what was I assume is a peaceful, harmless creature, and it catches it and it doesn't die. And then they're like, oh yeah, we're out of gas, we're out of oxygen. And then so he's like, well, I'll never give up. And he removes his limiter and he gets this huge power boost and destroys the thing. And then he dies. Oh, the screen breaks. They actually dig up his body. And and I also skipped over Donatello's
Decadence falls apart after this.
And I skipped over Donatello's sacrifice. The monster was going to shoot a laser blast.
Sacrifice.
Donatello flies in there, and everyone's
So
like,
good.
he's so cool, and he dies, and then he wakes back up in his cyborg body, and everyone's like, oh yeah, that wasn't a sacrifice. You're dumb.
Yeah, so lame.
and I got like that tricked me. I was like, oh, good for him. Sacrifice moment. I like this. And then, oh yeah, that wasn't a sacrifice. That was an avatar. What am I doing? I watched all these episodes. I know what's going on. All right. They find Kabu's body. His face. So he's like a rectangle with eyes for like a face mask. And it's broken, and there's just like two lights. And so Natsume tells him, thank you, for everything you've done. And then the lights fade out, and he's dead. And then we get the new game advertisement. Hey, come play Deca Dence. You can now live down there with the humans. There's a farming game. There are sports games. You can go on tours with Natsume. The Godal are back, but they're friendly now. You can ride them.
I love the petting zoo.
Yes.
And we also get a scene with Jill and Minato. Minato has been put in charge of the entire system now, and Jill reveals that she's a bug designer. She was in charge of designing the bugs that plagued the system, because that was part of the system. And she's showing off all these files, and I was like, hey, what's that file? And she's like, oh yeah, that's the file I made of a backup of Kabu. We have a backup of Kabu! And then you see Kabu's human avatar walking towards Natsume.
And she's older, quite a bit older.
Yes, time has passed.
And he's kind of awkward, so I think the avatar is not an avatar. I think it's actually him.
Oh, you think they maybe put the cyborg core inside of a human
I have
body?
no evidence for that, but just the way he was walking, because he's been in a level 1 avatar previously.
Yeah.
My
personal theory is that they just transferred him directly into.
My assumption was
that
since he was in cyborg or human form, when the cyborgs now just live freely among the humans, is not using avatars. I don't think they were using avatars
Some do.
anymore. Do they?
Some
Some
do,
do
but yeah,
when they're like fighting
a lot
and
of them
stuff in
didn't.
the arena.
I just made the assumption, since he didn't show up in his cyborg form, that his avatar form is now his true form. Like they just put his mind into an avatar. All right, thoughts on this ending?
I was a little sure happy endings are great, but I think it would have been a little more impactful if they didn't have a backup of him. I felt that was a little weak. But I did love instead of the MMO, we now have Farmville and Rocket League.
Yes.
I did like that. That was pretty cool.
I thought I have two minor issues that I think I can explain away. One of them is, yes, I understand that the removing the governors and going into limit break mode is something that's already been established, and I pointed it out myself that there's an order of magnitude difference. But they'd already spent the fuel, so if you don't have the fuel to do this, how do you get that? And the only conclusion I could come up with is that the fuel was literally inside of the shell of Deca Dence, because we do see them fueling the shell to make them pick upable. Right? So what if the rest of the containment, like everything about Deca Dence, all the walls, everything else was like infused with it, and that's just material that's normally never touched. But Jeremy, he's able to extract that, and that's why it falls apart afterwards.
Jeremy, how many anime have you watched? His feelings is what made it go faster and stronger.
No.
It was his
it
feeling.
was dead stopped. It was literally stopped. The creature had caught it. Yeah,
no,
so that was one
had
minor
more
issue.
Feeling this time.
No, don't make me hate this part.
I have one question.
Okay.
That is the actual end. There's not another episode, right? I just need to make sure.
Yes, that is the actual end. The second issue that I have is that the last we saw of the system was when it said, these cycles have to be repeated over and over again. And he said, no, I can break your cycle. And she said, okay, try, and disappeared. And then now we're seeing that instead of Hugin being put in charge of everything, we have Minato. I'm a little bit confused as to why the system is okay with such a drastic change, just because one thing didn't go the way it imagined, or one thing.
Skip over the system's purpose, which is humans destroyed the world The system is designed to never let that happen again. That's all that matters to the system.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the whole putting you in cyborgs, creating a video game, all that matters to it is that humans don't destroy the world again. Maybe it feels like they're on the right path.
Or this doesn't interfere with that directive.
Mission. Yeah.
So all this time, it was just basically in a rut, thinking this is the one way to solve it. Maybe because it had put Hugin. I'm just wondering why it didn't reinstantiate Hugin as, reinstate Hugin as the system's administrator again. Like, there's no reason why it wouldn't.
Yeah, because only his avatar died. He didn't die.
Right. Yeah, and so, but it decided not to, and I'm unclear as to why it decided that needed to change, because the system did seem very immovable. It seemed
because we needed a happy ending. That's why.
Yeah.
So,
but I do love what they did. I love the happy ending, though.
I do. I think the ending's really fun. I thought the fight was really cool. My real only nitpick is that it did end up being the Matrix. To me, what I saw was like the exact same themes play out. About control, and also the ending. You're still kind of under the control of the system. The system's not abusing you as hard as it used to.
Right.
You're not free. But which is also how the Matrix ends, right? Like the Matrix will, spoilers for movie from the 90s, the Matrix still exists. You can be in it if you want and still be a battery. There's still a system, but you have freedom to choose.
Until Matrix 4, which is coming out soon.
I guess my nitpick is for Deca Dence felt so original all the way through, like it was breaking so many tropes for it to land. It's something that's been well treaded since the 90s now.
Was a bit of about someone that was born in the 90s. They may not be familiar with these particular themes.
So at the beginning when I did your guys' introductions, I mentioned like Hunger Games and stuff. Those are very similar themes about, free will versus systems. That theme that's being told here is now very well established, and probably was even before the Matrix.
Kind of. They're more of I'm going to be with my true love.
No, I don't know. That's not what Hunger Games is about. Jeez,
melodrama.
Look, yes, Hunger Games and Maze Runner are young adult versions, but they are telling the same theme. They're about systems of control and rebelling against them. And then what does that truly mean?
Does that mean that's the same as Star Wars?
Yeah, the Empire. Like, I think that theme is going to be present in a lot of places. I don't know. I see what you're saying, but even as someone who watched the Matrixes and everything, I don't know. It came across as enough of a different flavor of that I hesitate to kind of place that theme as, it's already finished. You know what I mean? This felt different enough from context and characters involved and timeline, and just the whole situation was different enough that I liked the flavor. I guess it'd be like saying everybody's had ice cream. Why make a new flavor?
I agree with that. It was unique in a way it told it. I guess really what hit me hard is when they were like, the bugs in the system are intended. And I was like, oh.
No, the moment you said that, because I actually didn't put two and two together until you mentioned this is basically Matrix. So I was like, oh, Jill's the Oracle. Yeah. Turkey is Cypher, and what's his face is the Oracle. Okay, is the architect.
And
okay,
and Kabu is Neo.
and Hugin is an agent. So,
and even we've done this dozens of times. We rebooted. Humans rebel. We reboot. It's part of the system.
The cycle.
The cycle. Anyway, that again, it's a very nitpicky. I think they told the story very well. It just because it felt so familiar to me at that moment when she said that, it was like, oh, that's this isn't as original as I thought it was.
Yeah, but I don't think as many people obsess over the Matrix as like you and I have.
Yeah,
so.
Fair enough.
At all. I still, like, as I'm hearing you guys talk about it, I'm like, I guess I don't remember that very clearly though.
I don't know. You know how many hours we've put into videos and studying?
Oh my god,
right. It's ridiculous.
I love the Matrix. All right. Let's go to final reviews.
Jeremy, you
Jason.
picked it.
Jeremy picked it.
Okay.
Let's go, Jeremy.
I absolutely loved it. I enjoyed the theme. I enjoyed the exploration of it with the characters. I thought it was really cool to go over that, the difference in situation and how it was kind of luxurious for the gears, but they were bored out of their minds, like to the point where Kabu's even considering I'm just going to let myself die. I'm not going to eat anymore, just for lack of interest in life. And so in their own way, they're in a prison themselves, and they don't realize it. Hugin's in a prison because, he's basically just doing what he has to do to keep this system running. And he doesn't really derive joy out of anything. So there's never anything he's doing just because he wants to do it. And that's kind of one of the things that they really point out is, what do you want to do? Is there anything you want to do? Do that instead of just what you're being forced to do. And to me, I thought it was really cool because of the fact that they had that in every single zone of this anime, and the repetition of that was really cool. I absolutely loved the twists. Like they came out of left field for me, and how the anime kept building on things. And we've solved this problem, so now let's go 10 steps further in this other direction that, like you said, Troy, would be 3 seasons, by the time that it got there. Really well done. The only criticisms I have are the sound design, which I mentioned earlier, and then also just that last issue of I'm still not clear on why the system was okay with changing things now. Sure, I can see it doing it. Maybe I would have liked it if they had explained it a little bit more, or at least given me some kind of like something to hold on to. Otherwise, I absolutely love this anime, and I'm actually going to give it a 5. This is right up there for me. Really, and I love the fact that it's open and closed. It's done. There's no more. We're finished.
Right. Yeah, I like that too. Jason, your thoughts?
Yeah, I have some nitpicks on it. It wasn't a perfect anime, but it was fun. It was really fun. And I thought they told a really great story. I don't think its parallels with the Matrix diminished too much from it. But it's the characters were fairly simple, but they were strong. Their story beats were fantastic, and the monsters were a really great design choice, and they gave really great flavor to the world. The world building was fantastic, and not quite perfect, so it's definitely a strong 4 for me.
4 for me as well. This is super entertaining. Really, my only real nitpick is that animation style for the robots, and they had good reason to use it. It's just personal taste, and it didn't diminish the storytelling or the story beats, and that's what matters in the end to me the most. I was very entertained by this. I was always excited to watch another episode. There was no dragging. So yeah, this is a solid 4 for me. Agent Smith is the giant monster. A problem created because the system. Okay, no. Anyway, watch The Matrix. Our next anime that we're going to be talking about is The Millionaire Detective Balance Unlimited. This is an anime. It's a pick by me. It's about detectives. That's right up my alley. A regular detective who really cares about justice and doing the right thing gets partnered up with a detective who uses his money to solve all his cases, and they don't get along very well, and they have to figure out how to work together to solve mysteries. And it had a really high rating. It was about 2 seasons ago. It was also recommended to me, so it should be a good one, and that's what we'll be discussing next. With that, I think it's time to say goodbye. Oh no, we need to tell you how to talk to us, because that's the part that really matters. Who cares what we think? If you want to let us know your thoughts on Deca Dence or The Matrix, you can reach us on Twitter at Baka Podcast. The email is theanimebakaclub@gmail.com, or leave a comment wherever you found this podcast, and we'll get back to you. And now, I believe it's time to say goodbye.
Thanks for listening.
See you next time.
Sayonara.